Good afternoon to everyone. Well, we carry on with this first European Congress, and now we have this afternoon session. We're going to talk about specific sectors or areas where corporate social responsibility is also implemented. The first panel we're going to address now is corporate social responsibility in the non-profit sector.
Voy a hablar de la responsabilidad social corporativa en el ámbito de las organizaciones no gubernamentales, sobre todo en España, pero también estoy incluyendo aquí a otras organizaciones al ámbito más europeo e internacional también. Las organizaciones no gubernamentales son las que realmente articulan toda la conciencia ciudadana en los años 70 y primeros 80 y hacen que realmente el consumidor se vuelva un consumidor más responsable, ¿no? Esta exigencia que se expresa a la voz de unos cuantos activistas al principio va a tener poco eco en las prácticas de las empresas, pero poco a poco se va haciendo más contundente hasta, como decía, que se convierte en una decisión, o sea, en una parte importante de la decisión de compra del consumidor y, por tanto, en los beneficios de las grandes empresas. Como consecuencia, si una empresa quiere ser competitiva, sus prácticas deben hacerse más responsables. También las ONG se convierten muchas veces en los vigilantes de estas prácticas y llevan a los medios de comunicación denuncias contra abusos contra los derechos humanos, de catástrofes medioambientales ocasionadas por algunos comportamientos irresponsables de las empresas, etc. Y desde ese punto de vista se convierten en representantes legítimos de los colectivos a los que apoyan, incluso de la propia sociedad en general. Y así van manteniendo un pulso con las empresas, con las que también se alían para llevar a cabo programas, pero a las que a la vez vigilan de cerca. De esa forma hay una relación unilateral. Las ONGs vigilan a las empresas y las empresas se sienten un poco auditadas de alguna forma en sus comportamientos por estas organizaciones. A la vez las empresas sienten que estas organizaciones tienen un know-how acumulado por conocer de cerca la causa a la que defienden, y para ellas esta experiencia y estos activos son muy valiosos, por eso acuden a ellas para determinados programas, ¿no? De esa forma, poco a poco, a través de los años, van acercando sus posturas y esa simbiosis, ese conjunto de intereses, se va fortaleciendo hasta nuestros días, ¿no? Lo que ocurre es que si nos paramos a pensar en los comportamientos que han tenido las ONGs en los últimos años, podemos ver que realmente nadie se ha ocupado de ver qué hacen las ONGs, de vigilar a las ONGs. Podemos hacernos estas preguntas. ¿Las ONGs son organizaciones responsables? Bueno, su principal razón de ser es el colectivo causa que apoyan. Además, han asumido su parte de responsabilidad en la construcción de una sociedad responsable. Y sus valores son la causa misma de su creación. Pero, ¿las convierte en organizaciones responsables, todo lo anterior? ¿Quién vigila al vigilante? En los primeros años, como decía, las ONGs vigilaban de cerca los comportamientos de las empresas y de los gobiernos. Los escándalos de corrupción ocurridos en algunas ONGs hacen que las empresas se cuestionen con qué ONGs deben o no aliarse. Y empieza a entrar también ese parámetro que hasta entonces las empresas no consideraban. Las primeras investigaciones sobre la efectividad del tercer sector y las consultorías que se hacen en él, más el factor de una sociedad que está cada vez más informada y es más crítica, hacen que haya un cambio de mentalidad en la sociedad, en las empresas, en todos los públicos. Así que ya no nos basta a las ONGs con justificar las cuentas, sino que debemos medir nuestro cambio social, el impacto que tienen nuestras acciones y, por supuesto, la eficiencia de los recursos que nos asignan, ¿no? Poco a poco, en los últimos años, sobre todo en los últimos 5 o 6 años, algunos directivos de ONGs comienzan a preguntarse si sus organizaciones deben también implantar políticas de responsabilidad social. Porque nosotros sabemos qué impacto tienen nuestras actividades, qué impacto medioambiental tienen, sabemos qué hacen nuestros proveedores, tenemos planes de igualdad, de conciliación laboral y familiar con nuestros empleados. Pues en la mayoría de las ONGs la respuesta sería que no. Y después de estas primeras preguntas podríamos hacernos otras. ¿Se nos puede exigir algo más que ser consecuentes con nuestra misión? ¿Cómo podemos aplicar la RSC a nuestras organizaciones? Y la gran pregunta, ¿cuánto cuesta esto? Nuestras organizaciones son, pues evidentemente, cuentan con unos recursos mucho más escasos que las empresas, pero esta también es la gran pregunta que se hacían los directivos de las grandes empresas internacionales cuando comenzaron a aplicarse las políticas de responsabilidad social. ¿Cuánto va a costar esto? ¿Qué esfuerzo va a implicar? ¿Cómo voy a convencer a mis empleados de que esto es algo ventajoso, de que esto puede reportar beneficios? Bueno, pues es un poco en el momento en el que estamos ahora en las organizaciones no gubernamentales. Evidentemente, no somos organizaciones responsables solo por apoyar a determinado colectivo, tenemos que mirar hacia adentro y ver que si nosotros, nuestra esencia es la responsabilidad con determinada causa, también tenemos que mirar hacia adentro y ver si estamos siendo responsables con el resto de cosas que debemos ser responsables, porque nace en nuestra propia esencia como organización. Pero la verdad es que en este caso se cumple un poco el refrán de que en casa del herrero cuchillo de palo, ¿no? Entonces, bueno, esta es la reflexión que traigo aquí. Creo que hay mucho camino por andar. Las organizaciones en España están empezando a pensar que esto es algo en lo que hay que empezar a trabajar. Y yo creo que el contexto futuro de las ONGs va a ser que, por una parte, un tercio aproximadamente, menos de un tercio, va a ser la valoración social de la causa o el colectivo que apoyamos. Eso va a ser muy importante. No se va a percibir igual, ni se percibe actualmente, ni se ha percibido, pero bueno, va a ser mucho más importante por la escasez de recursos que hay ahora mismo y por la actual crisis económica, qué valor de la gente a la causa que nosotros apoyamos. Si nuestra causa tiene poco beneficio social o vamos a tener poca eficiencia en la asignación de recursos, es probable que desaparezcamos del mapa. Por otro lado, la eficiencia en la asignación de recursos y el cambio generado por nuestras acciones va a ser otro parámetro súper importante. Nos van a auditar mucho más, vamos a tener que estar preparadas para medir el cambio social que generan nuestras acciones, no solamente para justificar que el presupuesto que nos han asignado lo hemos empleado en lo que hemos dicho que íbamos a hacer. Después, los recursos destinados a la captación de fondos, que hasta hace poco era algo menor, se van a tener que multiplicar porque hay una creciente competitividad en el ámbito de las ONGs, menos recursos para más asociaciones porque han crecido exponencialmente en los últimos años. Y a mí me gustaría pensar que una ventaja competitiva en este entorno será la aplicación de políticas de responsabilidad social corporativa en nuestras organizaciones. Porque si pensamos en una gran empresa y en cómo ella controla su cadena de proveedores y cómo controla el impacto medioambiental de sus actividades, etcétera, etcétera, parece lógico pensar también que nosotros, como actores más del sistema que somos, las ONGs, se nos va a exigir igualmente que cumplamos con esos estándares que están exigiendo al resto de actores. Y no solamente con que pues, seamos meros ejecutores de sus programas de acción social, ¿no? Somos una sociedad interrelacionada, ahora mismo hay un alto grado de exigencia en todos los actores, las ONG se han profesionalizado enormemente y como tal tenemos que también nosotros medirnos en ese sentido y poner mucho más de nuestra parte para llegar a ese grado de exigencia que nosotros somos los primeros que hemos exigido a las empresas, ¿no? Por último, me gustaría avanzar algunas de las conclusiones que se vieron en el segundo foro DIRCOM de responsabilidad social corporativa que se celebró este año. Y bueno, las organizaciones que estábamos allí presentes vimos que hacía falta implantar una estrategia de sostenibilidad en el tercer sector, que iba a ser una cosa muy complicada, porque haría falta una gestión más profesionalizada, con planes estratégicos similares a los de la empresa, aunque este sector poco a poco se va profesionalizando y en los puestos directivos y de ejecutores sí hay una profesionalización. La realidad es que las juntas directivas y patronatos muchas veces adolecen de este carácter, bueno, no vamos a decir que no son profesionales, pero son personas que se dedican a otros temas y bueno, parte de su tiempo lo dedican a una asociación y no remunerado, evidentemente, y por lo tanto, pues esto puede ser un problema, ¿no?, para implantar políticas de responsabilidad social. Por otro lado, en lo relacionado con los empleados, las ONGs tenemos muchísimo camino por andar, no hay planes de formación, no hay planes de retención del talento. Bueno, si se hace algún tipo de adaptación de jornada, evidentemente esto no se contempla como una política de responsabilidad social. Y bueno, pues creemos que esto es un tema muy importante para nosotros porque se produce una excesiva rotación de personal con la consecuente falta de profesionalidad que esto implica en cualquier organización y pérdida de talento. Y bueno, la verdad es que estamos viendo que cada vez hay más directivos de empresas que van hacia el tercer sector pero todavía sigue habiendo un problema en el cambio, es decir, en que las empresas vean a los profesionales del tercer sector como profesionales competentes, como personas que son capaces de trabajar bajo presión, que están acostumbradas a desarrollar multitud de tareas, etc. Se tiende a pensar injustamente que son profesionales mediocres con una mentalidad funcionarial, nada más lejos de la realidad. Son personas muy proactivas, con gran iniciativa, acostumbradas a trabajar en entornos complejos, a desarrollar nuevos enfoques, a priorizar en base a objetivos, a trabajar en equipos con altísima carga de trabajo y a fomentar la motivación entre sus empleados, ¿no? Y entre sus voluntarios también. Bueno, pues este es un poco el panorama que hay en el tercer sector en España. Creo que es un sector que va a crecer muchísimo y que va a tener una importancia vital en el futuro y que, por supuesto, que nosotros somos los primeros que tenemos que ponernos las pilas y en vez de exigir a los demás, exigirnos nosotros. Pero bueno, también estamos en el momento, ¿no?, decisivo ahora mismo, en el cual estamos empezando a plantearnos que esto es algo que hay que hacer, que va a llevar un tiempo, que va a llevar un dinero y unos recursos. Y en ese sentido también vamos a pedir a las empresas que sean comprensivos hacia esto, porque si esto exige unos recursos, son recursos que nosotros no vamos a poder dedicar exclusivamente a nuestros programas. Las empresas nos piden que el 100% de los fondos que destinan a los programas vayan a programas y no se dan cuenta que hay una parte que se debe quedar en el tema estructural, precisamente pues para que nosotros como ONGs podamos implantar, por ejemplo, políticas de responsabilidad social que llevan, evidentemente, como toda empresa sabe, un dinero, un costo, etc. Gracias.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon to everybody. I'm Nicoletta Cerana. I'm being presented as Ketchum Italy founder. That is true. But I represent today our association, FERPI, which is the Italian Association of Public Relations. Inside this association, I am the responsible of all the CSR project. We started as FERPI to work on CSR in 2004. We did a lot of things, but referring mainly to the profit organization, mainly big companies, insurance, credits, banks, pharmaceutical, utilities, and so on. And since 2 years, we started to talk on CSR referring to the non-profit market, the charities market, the NGOs market. I will call this market today non-profit market. I will talk mainly about the corporate social reporting in this field, because the corporate social responsibility and the social accounting in particular have turned into the new communication challenge for the non-profit organization in Italy. In fact, since the year 2000, this organization have been requested to be more transparent and responsible by their stakeholders, and mainly by donors and volunteers, because their activity depends mainly by donors and volunteers. When we talk about the charities or non-profit organization market in Italy, we talk on a wide market consisting of more than 200,000 organizations, 51% of them located in northern Italy, mainly in Lombardy. This market employs about 4 million people, 3,200,000 are volunteers. And this market provides services and care services and social services to about 20 million Italian citizens, which means about the 30% of our population. And these services are done in different sectors: culture, education, environmental, healthcare. This organization, these 200,000 organizations, differ one from the other for the field of activity, for their size, for their legal nature, because they may be association or foundation or social cooperatives or social enterprises. Because of this limit, an increasing number of Italians cannot perceive the social value produced by this organization. Moreover, Italians are convinced that a lot of non-profit organizations do not manage the funds they receive properly, either because they lack in organization and management skills, either because they do it on purpose. In other words, the Italian public opinion is increasingly convinced that non-profit organizations are not managed in a socially responsible way. Consequently, over the last few years, the trust and support of donors and volunteers workers decreased considerably. Figures show that in 2010, donation, also affected by the economic crisis, have dropped by 11%, while the number of volunteers fell by more than 15%. So in order to help the non-profit market to restore the confidence in the public opinion, in 2001, the Italian government founded the Agency for the Third Sector. The agency is an authority which aims at guiding, monitoring, and promoting the non-profit system in Italy by providing it with guidelines, management, and organizational means. Such means are important for this sector to reach the level of effectiveness, efficiency, and shared consensus that are needed to foster its growth. In detail, the agency published, first of all, some guidelines for ordinary and emergency fundraising activities. Secondly, published the accounting principle to draw up the financial statements. And above all, the agency published the guideline to draw up the social report. Using these tools, the Italian non-profit organization will be able to guarantee the highest transparency standards to their stakeholders. In fact, according to the agency, the social report is for the third sector the only effective means able to give account of responsible behavior patterns and social, environmental, and economic results reached by the activities of this organization. Because the agency is convinced that accounting data alone are not sufficient to demonstrate all these elements to their stakeholder. The third sector agency guideline represent a sort of an accompanying model to the preparation of the social report. The model contains, first of all, general principle deriving from the most accredited corporate doctrine in this field. More specifically, such general principles have been inspired by the guidelines proposed by the GRI 3 in 2006. Then the general principle established by the Italian Study Group for Social Report and other corporate social reporting schemes created for the Italian non-profit sector. Secondly, the model helps pointing out which are the compulsory and non-compulsory information that each non-profit organization ought to provide, regardless of its specific sector of activity. Furthermore, the model offers a number of informative charts classified according to their operational sector, from each organization can choose those to be applied to their specific activity. Lastly, the model features a considerable range of indicators key performance indicator, enabling to represent different fields of activity. Because of the model's flexibility and module-based structure, it can be applied to any kind of organization, regardless of its legal nature, size, field of activity, and organizational and management level of development. Furthermore, it must be known that Italy adopted a series of legislative decrees making the social report compulsory for 3 kinds of non-profit organization. In Italy, the social reporting is compulsory for banking foundation, and this is a decree of 99, is compulsory for social enterprises since 2006, and is compulsory for social cooperatives which are based in Lombardy and Friuli Venezia Giulia. These cooperatives need to draw up their social report in order to be allowed to enroll in the regional register for social cooperatives. Without the social report, this organization cannot sign agreements with public sector bodies and cannot be eligible for tax benefits granted by the regional legislation. For the other organization, the social reporting is voluntary. But considering the increasing demand for transparency, in the short term, reporting requirements are expected to be extended to a wider group of Italian subjects. Coming, you can know that at the moment, just a small number on a national level, just a small number of non-profit organization publishes the social report. But this is becoming more and more frequent, mainly among the big non-profit organization. And this organization uses the social report in a right way, because coming to the main purpose of the social account, we noticed that the Italian non-profit organization do not adopt the social accounting to meet their visibility or marketing or fundraising needs and goals. They rather choose it with the purpose to reconsider their identity, review their organizational and management processes, and innovate their communication strategies. In short term, they adopt the social accounting in order to become more competitive. At this regard, a remarkable example is offered by the Alzheimer Federation of Italy. This is a major voluntary organization dedicated to people affected by Alzheimer and their families, and it comprises 46 associations scattered in all Italian regions. The federation was founded in 1993, and in 2006 it launched its social reporting process with different goals. First of all, to improve the sense of belonging to the network by its 46 members. Secondly, to reinforce its power of advocacy towards public bodies. And finally, to maximize the social value produced by this organization at national level. For the Alzheimer Federation of Italy, the social report is a working tool which assesses associative performances, suggests improvements, concern about 5,000 people participating in the network, supports continuous improvement of care services, and foster its growth and identity. Another interesting case is offered by the Italian headquarters of SOS Children Villages. which is a global network providing care services and reception facilities to more than 1 million children without parental care in 132 countries all over the world. The Italian subsidiary was the first member of the international network to draw up its social report. The social reporting process was launched in 2010 to support an internal reorganizational program affecting the Italian reality as a whole. Its national headquarters, 7 reception villages, and 40 educational communities, which together provide care and services to more than 600 children without a family. The process is still ongoing, however, important results have already been met. First of all, the project has enabled to review in a more clear way the identity and the governance of the Italian Association and its international branches. Secondly, it has enabled to better define who are the stakeholders of SOS Children Villages in Italy and what social results have been reached by the Italian headquarters and by the 7 villages. Lastly, thanks to the project, the 7 villages, which had been working independently from the national headquarters until 2010, have finally started to cooperate. Thus, the project has turned out to be a useful tool to improve the accountability of villages directors, monitor results, pursue the established mission, and enhance both reputation and visibility of the Italian structure. After this picture, synthetic picture of the Italian situation, I would like to conclude saying that the non-profit organization, also if they pursue a social mission, they are not socially responsible by definition. They, as the profit organization, they must demonstrate their social responsibility. And for this reason, the Italian Federation of Public Relations that annually organize what we call the Oscar del Bilancio, put inside this big event, this big award, a special sector dedicated to the non-profit organization in order to give award to the best practice in terms of social accounting of this organization. Thanks.
Good afternoon. I promised to the chairman that I would be very quickly, so I hope you don't fall into sleep. So I start by congratulating DIRCOM for the organization of this first European Congress on Communicating CSR, and also the presentation of all my colleagues. It is a pleasure to be here on behalf of Portuguese Society of Communication. I will make the presentation Corporate Social Responsibility as the axis of a communicational strategy in public relations, the case of the Portuguese Association for the Right to the Credit. This paper addressed the concept that CSR associated with acknowledgement that strategical decision of organization must incorporate the interest of different publics, thus justifying that managing of this area in organizations should be done through public relations. As a case study, it was selected the microcredit, not for a matter of opportunity, but it was considered that the microcredit in Genesis has the principles of social responsibility. According to Mohamed Yunus, Nobel Prize in 2006, he considered the needs of the poorest groups in society, and he believes that organizations have responsibilities to meet the problems affecting those groups. It is still considered that the microcredits falls under the Millennium Development Goals, which aim to promote this commitment to human rights. Strategically, the literature of the area shows that public relations in management and communication of social responsibility, supported by the perspective of compatibility between these two areas. We have seen, and Anne Gregory told us that corporate social CSR must be at the end from organization, and Martina told us that this should be some discipline, should be an apart discipline. I think there is CSR has not enough research in the area to be isolated. So I believe that public relation in its essence as the principal ethics that need to be management in CSR. From the CSR point of view, Carol noticed that the concept of CSR today is the same that in the past. What have changed for this author are the problems that organizations face, mainly because society and organization have changed, and so their relationships. The relationship development between microfinance and the environment still incipient. But the Green Job Report done by United Nations and International Labour Organization tell us that in the next 20 years, about 20 million new jobs will be related to the green jobs. So we consider to the microcredit that a significant part of the green job may be based on traditional occupations, which change the context and skills. At the microcredit level, it was considered that this wave of innovation, sustainability, offers opportunities for its expansions. Concerning the research carried out within the scope of public relation and organizational communication, it was considered Survive has an appropriate instrument for providing insights into attitudes and perception and to identify the interest, need, and preference of the target group. Why we choose microcredit for National Association for the Right to the Credit and not for the banks or other alternative? Given the purpose of this study to examine the contribution of public relation to dynamization, the CSR practice, with particular emphasis to the management of the information between organization and its publicus, of several aspects, we consider relevant to inquire the microcredit beneficiaries in order to proceed the first phase of strategic planning, situalis analysis. The sample is characterized as non-probabilistic, selected for convenience. Although the criteria for inclusion in the sample were all the working individuals who voluntarily wanted to participating, belonging to a location Parisian, whose the first year in this association had taken between 2004 and 2010, depicting half of the period of the microcredit in Portugal. The Survive took the normal phases of this instrument, including pretest. The Survive had a support with 7 sheets that we make some ads, and the micro entrepreneurs memorize in first, the elements memorized in first option was information, then pictures, testimonies, reference to the association. The main reason they have used elements that show the conditions of the loan rather than image, they told us that especially because the microcredit from this ONG is quite different from the other alternative from the bank. elements indicated as the most important were the conditions of the loan, different NDC microcredit, contact information, target publics, loan amount, opportunity for create a business, and testimonies. As the result, it was possible to verify a strong link between microcredit and this ONG. A non-profit association offered the credibility enough to the beneficiaries, in particular, by encouraging them to social inclusion and autonomy of excluding people in financial difficulties. This activity is focused mainly on monitoring the financed project that was mentioned by 27% of the sample. We consider, although that INDC holds a positive and credible image of microcredit, which is a reputational capital that enables it to more easily extend their field of action. Television was referenced as the media. They took acknowledgement from the existence of microcredit. That has to do within the fact that the high level of illiteracy of the sample. The concept, the concept of CSR is associated with the recognition that strategic decision of organization must incorporate interests of different stakeholders. The axis of its communication strategies should reflect the activities that association develops, while at the same time meet the expectation of its publics. Microcredit is perceived strongly as a urban phenomenon. The most indicate element, information, meets the reasons that microcredit provided by this association lacks better explanation. Micro-entrepreneurs mentioned that the most important in its disclosure relates with the loans condition and the aspects that are different from the other loans. Namely, the fact that this association monitors all the phases linked to the implementation and development of the project submitted. The emphasis places by INDC target public on elements of racial nature reflects the ignorance about microcredit and the perceived idea that microcredit is deal with the low value loans. Public relations also assume an important role as they define communication plans that enable the public to assume that organizations are transparent, engage structure that cooperate with common good, defining also the themes for public reflection and discussion, putting them on agenda. Due to the nature of its activity, the specific action that it develops for the micro-entrepreneurs, and because it includes microcredit in public agenda, the INDC is promoting and assuming CSR role, which must also be highlighted in its communication strategy. Thank you.
Obrigado. Well, question time. Any questions, please? Nobody has a question? Yes, please.
Thank you. Good afternoon. Well, my question is for Nicoletta. It's about, I don't know if I understood properly or not. You talk about 4 million people working for the organization in Italy, and from them 3,002,000 were volunteers. That's a lot of people, and I don't know if, I mean, that's the correct figures of the people who are working nowadays in Italy for these organizations. And I want you to explain a bit more about this, because for me, I think it's very important to see how many people is involved in this organization. Thanks.
Thank you. The figures are correct and recent. And they were recently published also by Corriere della Sera. And I agree with you, there are numbers astonishing, because 4 million people involved in social activities is a big number, but 3,200,000 volunteers, it seems bigger and bigger. But you have to take into account that the total number of this organization, more than 200,000 all over Italy. So when I began to talk about, I told you the social responsibility refers to a very wide market. And this non-profit market in Italy is really relevant. And for this reason, in 2001, the government decided to build up this agency. And I have to say that the first aim of this agency was the fiscal one, in order to make more order in such activities. But year by year, they understood that this sector is important, and because the money coming from public bodies becomes less and less, they tried to give to this organization means in order to become more efficient, more professional, because they have to live on their own, with their own funds. And now we are in a sort of medium period. But in my opinion, in the future year, the non-profit market in Italy will become more professional and more important for the Italian citizen, because, as I told you, they serve more than 30% of Italian citizens, because we are 60 million about, and 20 million Italian citizens uses these services, care services, social services given by these people.
Thank you. Yes.
Hello. Since you are representing non-governmental organizations, I would like to ask you, what do you think are the tools to make NGOs like stronger watchdogs? Because I like the concept that NGOs have to be also socially responsible in terms of finances, but what to do that NGOs are more active in the dialogue, and also because how much people actually are financing those NGOs which are fighting for environment, for example? Do you have any data?
Not really, because I focused the market from inside. So from looking at the problem they have from the organizational and management point of view. I didn't focus my attention on the relation of these NGOs with the profit organization. And I think that in any case, if in Italy we will have stronger NGOs, this will be a positive thing for the country, not because the presence of green movements or NGOs very active, in general, they can make, they can help to improve the habits of people, companies, etc. So, but it takes time. It takes time.
Gracias por la pregunta. Gracias. Yo creo que las ONGs han tenido un papel importantísimo en el diálogo social, sobre todo con las empresas, en la lucha por multitud de intereses, pero que en estos momentos, creo que las ONGs, tradicionalmente el papel que han tenido precisamente es el fortalecer ese diálogo social con las empresas y con los gobiernos para lograr un interés particular de determinado tema para la sociedad. Y ese ha sido su papel. Por eso se han fortalecido y por eso nadie las ha cuestionado, porque su interés era legítimo, o sea, era defender unos valores, unos intereses por el bien común. Ahora estamos un paso más allá, por eso estamos diciendo, las personas que estamos en esta mesa, que las ONGs tienen que asumir su compromiso y, aparte de ser organizaciones responsables por el área en el que trabajan, tienen que ser responsables en toda su gestión, tienen que asumir la responsabilidad social como su ADN, como el resto de sus valores, porque si no, realmente no están cumpliendo con su verdadera misión, que es la responsabilidad social.
One more question. Yes, Sebastián.
It's a question for Beatriz. What do you think? The professionals, the managers who are working in the non-profit sector are not professional? Why do you think the managers who are working in the non-profit sector are not professional?
The managers are professional. The thing is that the patronatos, I don't know the name in English, the founders, the people who made this organization at the beginning, they are families, they are people who are idealists or they fight for a cause, but they really don't work there and they don't gain any money there. So they put time and efforts on something, but they are not professional on that thing. Imagine that for example, a big company like, I don't know, Vodafone, for example, was managed by people who had really good intentions. You know, and they went, well, we want people to have cellulars and we want the world to communicate and we want to do it, but yes, but what kind of skills do you have to do that? This is the problem of the non-profit sector, at least for what I know in Spain. There are some NGOs who have really professionalized in all the ranges. I mean, also in the direction. In the direction, they are professionalized, like the big ones, like UNICEF or I don't know, ACNUR or something like that. But the most of them, like 90-something%, they are run by people who have good intentions and they have good managers below them. But the managers have a certain amount of power. They cannot go to the strategy. This is something for the people who really are in the high part of the organization. So unless the organization is professionalized until the top part, we are not going to change this very easily.
Thank you very much. Well, thank you for your papers, and let me now invite Mrs. María Jesús Pérez from, well, she's a Chief Executive Officer at Adams, Spain, and she's going to talk about, well, education, an essential element of CSR.
Muchas gracias por la sensibilidad que ha tenido DIRCON de incluir un punto para mí fundamental, como es la educación, en los temas de responsabilidad social como un punto clave y, por supuesto, por la amabilidad que ha tenido de invitarnos. Represento a una empresa española, Centro de Estudios Adams, que lleva en el mercado 54 años y que se dedica a la formación para el empleo tanto público como privado. Nuestra tarea es formar y lo hacemos a través de un grupo de pequeñas y medianas empresas. No somos más de 400 empleados dentro de España, no trabajamos fuera de España y, como decía, nuestra actividad es formar a las personas para que adquieran unos conocimientos profesionales que les permitan mantener el empleo, mejorar el empleo o conseguir un empleo. En nuestra política de responsabilidad social, y de la que yo voy a hablarles ahora, tiene que ver con el tema de la educación y de la formación. Como decía una ponente esta mañana, como decía Sofía Lacatu, yo ahora me voy a referir al tejado de la responsabilidad social de mi empresa. No quiere decir que no tengamos muros, por supuesto que son sólidos y están bien construidos. Aquí en España se dice que la casa no se empieza por el tejado y en este caso, bueno, pues discúlpenme si empiezo por el tejado o comento esta cuestión. Esto es visible y es lo que ahora mismo tiene que ver con el punto que yo voy a tratar. Nosotros nos dedicamos, como decía, a la educación y en nuestra acción social hay unos aspectos que me gustaría resaltar y comentarles porque nos dedicamos principalmente a lo que mejor sabemos hacer, que es formar a las personas, y también porque creemos que la educación, la formación, es un punto vital para la mejora de las personas en sus ámbitos tanto personal, familiar, profesional, social y, desde luego, político, en cuanto que ayuda a los países a progresar. En nuestra modesta aportación dentro de España tenemos 4 programas de acción social que van dirigidos a colectivos desfavorecidos. El primer programa que empezó se gestionó en nuestra empresa a partir de la crisis en el año 2009. Este programa va dirigido a alumnos de nuestra empresa con dificultades económicas y con dificultades personales y sociales. Es un programa de 120 becas anuales. Este es el tercer año que lo realizamos y estamos bastante satisfechos de los éxitos y de la aportación, aunque sea pequeña, que realizamos a paliar la crisis dentro del colectivo de alumnos que tenemos. Hay otro programa que lleva 2 años, que es un programa dirigido, también de becas, dirigido a mujeres maltratadas. Es un programa que realizamos en colaboración con la Administración valenciana, con los centros de 24 horas, y con él pretendemos, este es el segundo año que realizamos el programa, con él pretendemos que las mujeres que están en condición y con dificultades en el terreno laboral, pero también mediatizadas por el maltrato, consigan su independencia económica, que es lo que realmente puede ayudarles en parte a ser libres. Este programa vamos a intentar también poder extenderlo a otras comunidades autónomas, pero bueno, tiene la dificultad normal de que también nuestros recursos son limitados. El tercer programa que ha empezado este año, también dirigido a mujeres, lo hacemos en colaboración con la Asociación Barró, una asociación, una ONG, no muy grande, de aquí de Madrid, que se dedica a trabajar con personas desfavorecidas y principalmente de etnia gitana. Hemos establecido unas becas para que mujeres de etnia gitana puedan acceder a la administración pública, en este caso al Ayuntamiento de Madrid, a través de la preparación y la presentación a un examen oficial para ser funcionarias del Ayuntamiento de Madrid. Es un programa de integración y esperemos que tenga éxito. Ha comenzado, como digo, este año. Por último, en España este año hemos empezado otro programa también de becas dirigidas a las, en este caso, a la excelencia curricular y al esfuerzo, y señalar sobre todo, resaltar el valor del esfuerzo y del trabajo, porque creemos que en estos momentos también de crisis hay que, volviendo a la realidad, hay que hacer visible el valor del esfuerzo y del trabajo. Es un programa para trabajar en la enseñanza pública a través de los exámenes oficiales que exigen para ser maestro en la enseñanza pública. Por último, respecto de estos trabajos que tienen que ver todos con el mundo de la formación, indicarles que nosotros también trabajamos en Burkina Faso, en África, el antiguo país que se llamaba Alto Volta. Es un país que está muy que está carente de multitud de cosas. Por darles alguna idea, es un país en el que ocupa el penúltimo lugar en alfabetización de las personas. El 28% de las personas del país solo tienen educación secundaria y el octavo país más pobre del mundo. Ahí trabajamos a través de una ONG, a través de Intervida, desde el año 2006. Lo que hacemos es construir escuelas rurales que van construidas en el norte del país, y después de conocer directamente y visitando el país por parte de las personas, muchas personas de la empresa que hemos ido, o varias personas que hemos ido a comprobar esto, hemos ampliado nuestra atención a otros aspectos de salud infantil, otorgar o posibilitar recursos para el agua, para mujeres, etc. Dentro de este país hemos construido la primera escuela de informática en la cuarta ciudad del país. Está funcionando a partir del año 2008, de febrero del 2008, y unos 800 alumnos y alumnas, porque en todos nuestros programas establecemos en la colaboración que les comento, que el 50% al menos de los favorecidos sean niños, jóvenes, mujeres. Pues como decía, 800 alumnos al año se benefician del estudio en materias informáticas que les pueden facilitar el acceso a trabajos y a las nuevas tecnologías. Todo esto lo resumimos en nuestra actividad como empresa de formación en un eslogan, en un lema, que creo que refleja bastante lo que queremos hacer. Nosotros decimos que aprendemos ayudando y aprendemos enseñando. Entrando en el tema que me han pedido del que hable, quería citar a Mandela. Nelson Mandela dice que, entre otras muchas cosas acertadas, dice que la educación es el arma más poderosa que tiene la humanidad para cambiar el mundo. Esto yo creo que, bueno, comparto ampliamente, que las personas tenemos un inmenso potencial, que educarse y conocer más es comprender más, es también conseguir entender mejor la vida, situarse mejor, poder, desde luego, superar las dificultades y prosperar, como decía, en todos los terrenos, personal, familiar, social y demás. Creo que informar y formar, las dos cosas, informar y formar sobre los valores de la responsabilidad social y hacerlo de una manera amplia, creo que ayudaría a conseguir un compromiso imprescindible, necesario actualmente, entre los trabajadores, entre los directivos y los empresarios, y por supuesto los ciudadanos y los consumidores, para que el mundo, por otro lado, se guíe por unos principios, desde luego, más éticos y convenientes para todos. También quería citar a otra persona que admiro mucho y creo que son muy adecuadas sus palabras. Me refiero a Albert Einstein. Él dijo hace ya mucho tiempo que no podemos pretender que las cosas cambien si seguimos haciendo lo mismo. Y también que la crisis es la mejor bendición que puede sucederle a las personas y a los países, porque la crisis trae progresos. La creatividad nace de la angustia como el día nace de la noche oscura. Y es en la crisis que nace la inventiva, los descubrimientos y las grandes estrategias. Yo creo que deberíamos tomar esto como referencia y unido a la importancia del momento grave por el que estamos atravesando, los principios éticos deberían estar, desde luego, mucho más presentes en todos los ámbitos de nuestra vida. Y, por tanto, la responsabilidad social entiendo que debería ser algo mucho más presente en la vida política, en la comunicación, en la vida ciudadana, en las empresas. Yo creo que es muy criticable, y quería decirlo aquí, la actitud que han tenido las universidades y las escuelas de negocio cuando no han entonado una crítica unánime y tajante al papel que han tenido las personas y los dirigentes económicos del mundo. Creo que estas escuelas y estas universidades han olvidado o no han tenido presente nunca o casi nunca estas enseñanzas imprescindibles hacia los alumnos. Yo creo que esta reflexión es vital para que el rumbo de las cosas pueda cambiar y nos podamos situar en unas exigencias hacia todos los ciudadanos y hacia todas las personas, y en concreto a las personas que dirigen la economía de otra manera. Si los médicos tienen un juramento hipocrático, y también los científicos, ¿por qué no lo tienen que tener, aparte de formación, los que manejan la economía y nos llevan a estas situaciones? No quiero pecar de ingenua, pero me atrevería a decir y a pensar que si la educación en general, desde que somos pequeños hasta que somos adultos y responsables, más responsables de nuestros actos, si hubiera tenido en cuenta estas enseñanzas éticas, estas enseñanzas también prácticas de responsabilidad social, la crisis hubiera sido no tan grave ni hubiera tenido todas estas consecuencias. En mi opinión, desde luego, debería estar vetado el éxito a las personas que solo piensan en ganar dinero como única razón de ser, importándoles bastante poco lo que es sus clientes, sus trabajadores, sus proveedores. Y como decían por ahí, todos hemos conocido personas y empresas tan pobres, tan pobres, tan pobres, que lo único que les ha importado ha sido ganar dinero. Por ello, creo que tenemos que hacer las cosas de forma diferente. Como decía Einstein, si queremos llegar a otro lado, tendremos que hacer otro camino. Y dentro de este camino creo que está el poner en marcha una potente y activa política de responsabilidad social, no solo en empresas, sino en instituciones también, como se ha hablado aquí, gubernamentales y no gubernamentales, y enseñar también todo esto tanto desde la enseñanza básica hasta la enseñanza universitaria. Hemos estado hablando en la mesa con el moderador que en su universidad existe un programa de responsabilidad social como asignatura optativa y que además, optativa, no obligatoria. Yo pienso que debería ser obligatoria y además, bueno, pues contar, aunque sea con el apoyo de las máximas autoridades, aunque como todo lo nuevo es difícil que obtenga un beneplácito o un aplauso inicialmente, pero bueno, a veces, y lo que nos queda muchas veces es ir un poco contracorriente, ¿no? La última reflexión que quería hacer al respecto, porque me parece importante, parece que para salir de la crisis, y tiene que ver con la formación, parece que es importante que para que salgamos de la crisis tiene que haber más emprendedores y más empresarios, ¿no? Bueno, yo diría, y empresarias, yo diría que lo que tiene que haber es más, pero también mejor. Para eso creo que, bueno, que habría que enseñarlo, porque a mí me gusta, y soy empresaria, me gustaría que se pudiera enseñar y se pudiera aprender que ser empresario quiere decir que podemos desarrollar ideas y actividades beneficiosas y útiles para las personas y la sociedad, que somos garantes de la igualdad de trato y promoción de las personas que trabajan con nosotros, que los empresarios tenemos sensibilidad social y que nos importa el mundo en que vivimos y que somos creativos. También que nuestro liderazgo se basa en el entusiasmo y respeto por las ideas que lanzamos y por nuestra generosidad con las personas que lo ponen en marcha. También los empresarios somos personas que generamos ilusión por lo que hacemos y por hacerlo bien. Y que queremos ser personas respetadas que seremos personas respetadas porque nuestra palabra es ley y así lo aprecian todos nuestros colaboradores, nuestros proveedores y nuestros clientes. Que compartimos lo que tenemos la suerte de tener con otras personas más desfavorecidas. Y por último, que los empresarios tendremos la suerte de que nos medirán por el valor de nuestros hechos. Yo creo que si enseñaran estas cosas y otras muchas más, seguro que me dejo en el tintero, a las personas jóvenes que tienen que comenzar el emprendimiento y comenzar a arriesgarse, creo que tendríamos mejores empresarios, tendríamos más creación de empleo, tendríamos un mundo mejor y, desde luego, todo esto sin la educación formal no se hace cargo de estas cuestiones, pues realmente estaríamos un poco en la misma situación probablemente dentro de algunos años. Por último, bueno, dar visibilidad a proyectos de responsabilidad empresarial buenos es algo que hacéis y hacen las personas que estáis aquí. Todos mis respetos para esta labor. Y por último, bueno, pues espero que dando visibilidad ganemos todos en esta situación. Gracias.
My name is Szymon Sikorski, and I have an opportunity to tell you something about the real estate market in Poland. But for the first, in my... In the beginning, I want to tell you why I decided to take the real estate market. We have a lot of CSR practice in Poland right now, because as Sofia before from the Hungary told, they will bring from the headquarters of the companies. But real estate is something that is typical to the Central European market. And why? It's a few opportunities how it works that way. Before 1990, where we got our freedom, we didn't have real estate market at all. The only one company that could build houses was the communism regime, and that's why it is something that appeared 20 years ago. And the need was very big. The people needed to have houses. They needed to have flats because they needed a place to live, and there was a huge need from the market. That's why many companies appeared in a beginning from the early 90s to about 2005, when the crisis began to rise. And what happened? Then the many companies, developer companies, the many real estate companies have appeared, and they started to build. And how did this end? We could see in the media. There was a lot of practices a lot of bankrupt. There was a lot of things that shouldn't have happened, because there was a lot of bad quality houses, negligence, problem with contracts and contractors, and there was a lot of situations that media coverage loves the most. I don't know how it works in Spain, but in Poland it works this way, that when one developer happens, media loves it, because media loves bad news, as you know probably. And there was a lot of media coverages saying that the developers have left the people without the roof. They paid their money and they didn't have a place to live. And how it works, and what it caused. It caused the really bad reputations to the whole real estate market. It happened because there was no regulations to the builders, and everyone could do their business. If you got the ground and if you got the money, and if you could borrow some money from the bank, you could be a developer, and you didn't need to have any experience. The only thing you should have was just the money to start your investment. And it's hard to say about a real experience in the market in such a situation. And this is how it worked then. It also happened that this industry, the development industry, was the industry of the lowest trust ever. It's kind when you ask, when there was researchers that people from Poland were asked, what's the biggest fraud? Who's the biggest fraud? And some people say the people from the banks, some others say the financial sector, but the winner was real estate. And that was the situation that needed to be cleared up. And something like Polish Developers Association was established in 2002. And 2007, they made something like Code of Good Practices and Developer, but it still didn't work, because this was such an NGOs that is created by developers, and it didn't affect the market. They didn't affect the people's thoughts. And as you know, and as it was said many times today, today times are the times of the internet, and if it's no discussion about the market, if it's no discussion about who does his work good and who doesn't, it provokes that all the discussion about this market go to the internet discussion. The other thing was that developers, and this is kind of a secret, developers are the people that are really rich now, and they started to invest. They are builders. They are former builders that got really huge money, huge amount of cash, and they got a huge business. And the only thing what was they thinking about was to earn as much as possible. But the time the internet bubble went on, and the people were starting to talk on the internet over the investment, something had happened, because it appeared that it is not enough to have an advertisement, to do their work, just to do the work, because if they got a bad reputation, it will last. And at the internet, as you know, it will last for a long time. So what could they do? They started with this. They started to think what to do with all these problems that it's really not trusted industry. And to your knowledge, it's a big industry. It's a 2% of whole market sale. Yeah, it's a really huge load of money. But what? And I will go back to this slide later. But now I want to tell you how it worked in my city. I come from Wrocław. This is a city in Poland, and in this city, 11 developing companies gathered, because they were thinking that they are trying to do their job as good as possible, but it's not possible to crash the wall that was built before, to crash this wall built of mistrust. And they decided to try some extra exercises. They wanted to wonder how to rebuild their reputation, and how to rebuild reputation, of course, with some social responsibility, and that was what they were trying to do. But what I told you, the people that established developer companies are former builders. They didn't learn management anytime. They don't know, the social responsibility. They don't know the words you and I and we all are using. They needed to practice it, and that's the practice that should be started and has to be done. And this is a switch needed. Yeah, it's the switch about thinking about making the real estate business, because in the past it was kind of money. Yeah? We built to earn some extra money. Now we cannot earn money anymore without doing responsible things, without doing responsible business. And I'm not talking about charity as they have done for the time many times, many years before, but I'm talking about a big switch of thinking. And that's what what it is, because real estate is really hard business, because what you are saying is not, it's not a product. It's kind of people's living. You don't sell houses. You're selling future to these people. Probably in Poland is such a situation that if you need to take a loan, you take a loan for 30 years. Normal people takes a loan for 30 years, yes? So he will be paying back the flat or apartment that he's going to buy for the rest of their lives. It's a special kind of business, and it's special need to have an responsible point of view at it, because brand in real estate means a good reputation, and it cannot work the other way. You cannot, build your reputation with an advertisement, with so on. You need to have an open channel or open discussion with your stakeholders to really get in or get by. And what did they done? Because it's easy to say, but what was the things, what can be done to rebuild the reputation? The biggest switch and the biggest thing that they have done was discussion. It wasn't, before, it was like this, that if you are a client, you couldn't talk, for example, to a company manager. You just were talking with the sales representatives. And, for example, if there was a lot of discussion on the internet forums, there was no answer. There was separate words, yeah? The words of sales and the words of stakeholders. And the biggest switch is they open to conversate. They opened to talk about what they are doing and what they... Also they were gathering the advices, or they were taking from the public opinion the advices of their investments, and a good words or a bad words, but everything is going to increase their brand. And also what was the biggest part of the switch is that together with the people, they started to create the investment. What does it mean? To create with their needs. For example, they got the ground, and this is an experience I've seen in Wrocław, that one developer got a huge area in the middle of the city, and he has some ideas what he want to do there. But he asked people, hey, you want to buy the city, I want to sell it to you, but first tell me, what do you think, what it should be built in there? For example, and it cost the whole process of social consulting, because also the flats and apartments is not only the city place where people live, but it's not the things that they buy, but it's the things, it's the place where they live, and what they're grown their children, when they live with their families, and when they spend the rest of their lives. That's the really important switch. What else could be done for the real estate? I've heard today many times a truth, and that's the main deed in corporate responsible actions is the interior communications. And it's also like this, because you know how it works, the sale in a real estate sector. It works this way, like the salesman takes an extra advantage in cash for the things that they sell. That's why they didn't care before about, and probably they didn't care, some of them still. They didn't care about, the responsibility, but all they care is to sell the houses, sell the flats. And that's what is needed to be quite changed, because they needed to understand that unless they are selling a good product, unless they are selling a responsible product, built in a responsible way, this is a short way and one way. This have no future. The second thing that was really also important is another, completely another kind of relation with the stakeholders. It's relation with the local governments. In Wrocław, it's my city, it's the city I'm talking about. It is the only one place that developers and all the real estate market is meeting the local governments, and they are talking about their needs. It's easy. It's easy, but it's the only city in Poland that it works this way. The governments say, we got the problems with this area, for example. We think you should build this and this to get such a result. And they say, okay, but we need, and that's a conversation. It's easy. You know, when we are talking about the conversation and we are talking about needs of communication in corporate responsibility, it's the, you know, it's just it's the beginning. It's the easiest way, and it may work. Yeah, but all you need is to give the opportunity to talk. If you are doing well, someone else will see it, and it works. We also have what they have done, and I think it's very interesting, is the book of standards for green areas in the city, made together with the University of Natural Resources. Because as you maybe not, cities in Central Europe are really touched by history. Our cities were touched by the Second World War, and it was after the World War, Wrocław, Warsaw, and many more were totally destroyed, and they were rebuilt in a communism, socialistic way of thinking, and they are not working right now. And what is really needed to get the greenery, for example, the green places back to the cities, because they were not before 1990. That's why we paid the university to make such a book that could be a help to the architects with their work when they are creating ideas of the houses, for example. And there's events making, and what is also important is that they are making information sessions that developers are telling the people what they need to know before they are going to buy their flat, their apartment. Because, you know, if you take a look at the agreement, it's about 50 pages. Yeah. And, you know, not everyone understands it. And people are just they signed it without reading, and then they have questions after they made an agreement. Yeah. That's why it's easy, it's education, it's just a trial to educate the people before buying apartment, not after. It's easier. And it's, I think, more responsible. The last thing I want to mention is a charity. It's co-working with NGOs, of course. NGOs connected with the ecology, because, as I told, the real estate market is market that is working in creating people's lives, creating their environment, creating their everything. And that's why it's really important. With NGOs, any other. Also, that's also very easy. It's what they were advised to do is to track the discussion in the internet. Nowadays, there's a lot of tools that allows you to track the discussion real time. So that means if someone has a question, you can answer them. And that was the switch also in the communication that now you can see in the internet, because before it was kind of a complaint where there was only a complaining, because you should also know that Polish internet is one of the most aggressive. It's really aggressive, and there was lots of complaints, and now these complaints were read into discussion. because now there's not only, you know, the one point of view, but you got at least 2 points of view. And what it shows, what I've noticed is that people don't want adults to complain only. They are also taking the other side. They are also seeing the vices and verses of everything. So it's not like this that all what they want is complaining. It doesn't work this way. And what I've noticed this year, because all that projects I think began in 2007, 2008 or something. But what can I see now? It's totally different offer on the market. There's much more visionary projects created that includes a responsible elements, like for example ecology and green areas. That includes advising, you know, with the agreement and many stuffs. And now it's this market is kind of a benchmark. Wrocław is kind of a benchmark to other cities. And how it began? It began only with the discussion, with the local government and with the people, nothing else. It's so easy to understand that in here, but what you need to remember is that you cannot talk and think only about money. This responsibility can change into income, but it's not the only element of the offer. And what is the biggest benchmark to me, for example, and what is my dream, is that real estate market can make such a projects like it was done in New York City that I really love the most. And yesterday, for example, I've seen it again in the BBC World. It is the project called High Line. High Line is a trains in the middle of the New York, and they were redesigned into a biggest park in the middle of the city. And it was redesigned with the young artists, with the local government, and with the investors that came from the real estate, and they were all together changing the people environment, people from the city. And that's the benchmark for me to what developers and real estate agents working on a local market should do. They should try to increase the people's lives. And this is the side vice that people started to ask about which one of the company is a member of a Polish developers association. And they are asking about them. They have now better projects and better image. And that is what I think a clue for the real estate management, real estate communication management. It's easy, but all I want to tell you is not to be afraid of discussion and not to be afraid of making your products better. It's easy, but it's my practical advice. Thank you.